And welcome back on into the Coin Flip Podcast. Jacob Zimmerman, Jaimes Guarantee Geren, and Martin Kelly. We are ready to rip another one. We are doing this pretty late on a Saturday night, the night of the Western Athletic Conference Championship game, where our school that we have all gone to, that I have graduated from, that Jaimes and Martin are finishing up their degrees in St. George, Utah, Dixie State, aka Utah Tech, came up one short of the WAC championship game. We're going to talk about their season, and later in the podcast, we are also going to talk about the Carolina Panthers and the Chicago Bears making a trade that me and Martin actually talked about on our last podcast that could potentially happen very briefly. We talked about it some off air as well, and now we are ready to decide who won the trade. What's going on, boys?
Not too bad.
Going well. It's going well.
All right, so we're going to start off here with Utah Tech, the Trailblazers, their season in 2023. Boys, this one overall, looking across the board, looks pretty similar to how the season did last year in 2022. They go 14-19 this year. Last year they went 13-18. So they place a little bit better in the WAC, one game better overall in the record. But take a look at their home record, 9-5. I like how the Trailblazers stayed good in the Burns. There was some good individual improvement from some key guys. This was a year that, saw the first year without Hunter Schofield, who was the best player on the team last year, a first all-WAC selection. And so that was a big hole in the lineup, but nevertheless, the Trailblazers secured 5 conference wins in the Western Athletic Conference. Guys, before I dive kind of further into my reactions to the season, I want to get your guys' takes on it.
Go ahead, James.
Overall, I think they played a lot better. The record doesn't speak for how well they played this season. They had a lot of close losses this year. They had 8 losses, 6 points or fewer. So 2-score games, they just didn't end up on the right side of things. But they did have some good quality wins. They did beat SUU. And then they did end up beating Stephen F. Austin that overtime game. So they've had some good wins. It was a tough start in the conference for them. They started off 2-8 in the conference, and then they went 3-5 after that. So this team, I feel like, is a year away. They're only losing a couple of starters, so they'll still have their main core there. But overall,
interesting take.
Overall, I don't think you can be completely disappointed if you're this team. But that last game, though, is definitely disappointing against SUU.
Martin?
Yeah, to touch more on that, that's just how it goes. It's sad that the officials saw the game how they saw it. And, officiating is officiating, so, you can't call it any better than how they did. But, they did what they did. Nonetheless, Utah Tech had a chance to win that game, and some poor defensive play down the end just didn't help. And
so I think that's important to note that we were just 1 point away from playing for a chance to play in the NCAA tournament. How big would that have been for our school? That would have been massive.
Well, we wouldn't have made it. The thing about it is it's confusing. So they did allow us to be in the tournament due to the fact that New Mexico State had their season disqualified. And then,
what?
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the point is, Utah Tech, if they would have won the entire thing, wouldn't have been eligible to go to the NCAA March Madness tournament because we're still on probation. This is year 3, and next year is year 4. After that, then we're eligible. So we still got another season under it, but we were just allowed in the WAC tournament due to what happened in Mexico State.
Gotcha.
Nonetheless, back to the entire tournament. That game against SUU was so damn fun to watch. It was such a back and forth matchup. it was the rubber match. It was the game that decided the season, and the way it went down is the way it went down. But nonetheless, it was a great fight to begin with. They shouldn't have been there to begin with. The win over Stephen F. Austin was the win that really showed that, like what James says, they got a good future going ahead of them. I mean, they fought so hard against Stephen F. Austin, a team which in the season, James brought up that they were 2-8 in the start of the season. Not Dan Sally. Cameron Gooden was out with a hamstring injury with 5 of those games. He suffered that hamstring injury in the first game against UTRGV, and after that, he sat out for those 5 games. So that wasn't helping us at all. So when he came back, he had to run off the rust, and then when he finally got into it, the things changed up. And a little bit of a lineup change with Frank Stain getting the start instead of Noah Gonzalez kind of held out the lineup. Tanner Christensen, the transfer from Idaho, really helped out a lot with inside play. Trey Edmonds, he's going to have a good future. It's going to be a good battle between those two sophomores for years to come. And with Dan Leader still sticking around next year. The win over Stephen F. Austin was amazing to watch. It was just Utah Tech kept fighting and kept fighting and kept fighting against a good, strong defense. Mason smart shots. Cam Gooden did what he did. Frank Stain did what he did. And in overtime, Dan Leader took over and put 9 points in the bucket. It was an amazing 2-day tournament to watch. Utah Tech proved everybody wrong. If officiating goes our way in the second game, we're going up against Utah Valley, and maybe we come back from the 23-point deficit that Southern Utah had to do last night, which was amazing to watch in itself, too. So next year is going to be great. They got some good incoming freshmen. I heard they got a couple transfers coming up, too. So we'll see what happens. Losing Cam Gooden hurts. You don't want to see the guy coming out go out the way he did, but he scored 1,100 points in his career. He left a damn good mark. Each year they got better. His first year, 8 wins. His second year, 13 wins. And his third year, 14 wins. He just made the program even much better, and it was so awesome to watch those guys play.
Martin, James, you guys touch on something. James, you said the Trailblazers are 1 year away. Now, that's not the case, because when you lose a guy like Cam Gooden, that totally resets your program. And unfortunately, it's looking like Utah Tech is going to be on the level of UTRGV, Chicago State, Lamar.
No, I'm
after Cam Gooden, because that's just how good of a player Cam Gooden was for us this season. 45% from the field, 42% from three. We're talking about a guy who's 5'11", 175 pounds, playing Division I basketball, who's averaging 16 points per game, 80% for the free throw line. Last year, I saw this guy play in just about every single game. He needed to work on his three-point shot. He did exactly that. He became the player that he needed to be. But it's really unfortunate, guys, that John Judkins never fully let Cameron Gooden loose. I mean, the amount of times he shot 20 shot attempts. I know it's I know it's college, right? College is more well-rounded, you could say. But if you look at how efficient Cam Gooden was, Utah Tech would have been better this year if Cam Gooden shot the ball more. And that's just period.
I completely disagree with that, because he was the only reason.
You disagree with the math?
I do disagree with the math, because I watched the game myself. I disagree with that when it came to the SUU win, because he was the only reason why we won that game. He made two buzzer beater 3-point shots.
Martin, you're.
But no. He actually got better at
shooting. Shot it more.
No, okay. Yes, he should.
Shot attempts.
It's hard to say that only because I think his passing ability got better this year as well. And yeah, Isaiah Pope and Frank Stain had some rough games, but they still did what they did. And Noah Gonzalez got better at 3-point shooting as well, too.
Everybody got better from three. We were shooting great from three. Jacob Nichols had an awesome bounce back here. That was great to see. If we would have had Hunter Schofield still one more year, or if everybody was as good as they are this year, last year, we could have maybe won the WAC.
We could have. Honestly, we could have. The point is, I think they'll be good next year. They got Owen Mackey, who's the player of the year in the Region 9, and then they got some kid out of Texas who's averaging about 21 a game. So, I mean, they have some good players coming up. We'll see what they do. The kid out of Texas is like 6'4". Owen Mackey is 6'2". So they got some bigger guards coming, which will help with their size and their lineup. And, I mean, John Juggins knows what he's doing. Yeah, he has had the best record in the WAC to start with, but he's got 13 wins under his belt in this conference. He's understanding the conference more and more every day, and he's building his roster to compete against it more and more every day. He just hasn't been able to knock down some of the transfers like Grand Canyon or like Utah Valley or some of those programs can knock down. He hasn't been able to knock down a true 5-star recruit. He can get the best out of 3 and 4-star recruits. He just hasn't had the 5-star recruit yet.
Martin, I don't think we're getting 4-star recruits, but yeah, I think overall our season was pretty good. It was nice to see some guys, step into some bigger roles. Tanner Christensen, a new guy onto this team, a transfer from Idaho. He had some monster games. He was a little inconsistent. He'd pop off every once in a while, and you wouldn't know if you were necessarily going to get that on on a daily basis. But he still ended up averaging 10 points and 7 rebounds, and I mean he was their rebounding leader. And if this guy has some time left in his career to still develop and grow, it looks like he's only a sophomore, so he can become pretty good, dude.
Yeah, he will. Tanner's going to be a good kid to come up with, and combination with him and Trey Evans is going to be fun to watch for a couple more years, considering they're both sophomores. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what else Utah Tech does next year. It's just going to be fun to see. I mean, they can only go in the future, and I mean the fact that Cam Gooden put up 35 points in his final game was just fun to watch. It was just sad how it came up short.
Cam Gooden, I want to say this. Think about us being in D1, right, and what that means to the transition and the level of skill you're playing against. Cam Gooden is the best men's basketball player in the history of Utah Tech basketball and Dixie State basketball. He's the best player in the school history.
You got a good. You can make a good argument. I mean, there's still Jack Beckton-Cobb was amazing to watch. Hunter, the year before that, Hunter was good. Trevor, I think it was Trevor Story a few years back.
Trevor Hill.
Was amazing to watch. I mean, the simple point is Cam Gooden did leave a mark on the program, and he was really good, and he was the reason why we stayed in games.
3 years, man.
3 years was a lot of fun, and I mean, you can only bless what he did, and he left a good mark. That's it.
I think that's an unfair comparison because I think if you were to have Trevor Hill on this team today, I think he does better than what Cam Gooden did. I think he shoots more efficiently. I think he averages more per game. He was a bigger man.
You think he shoots better than 45, 42, 80 splits on the D1 level?
Yeah, I do. I really do.
And you also got to remember, Cam Gooden is doing this at the same size, if not smaller, than Allen Iverson.
Well, sure. No, I'm not discrediting Cam Gooden, but you're hyping this guy up like he led us to a winning record, and he didn't.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that, James. That's not a lie. But the thing is that I look on that is the program got from 8 wins to 13 to 14, and he's a majority of the reason why we got those wins. And he's a majority of the reason why we stayed in 1-point games, as you mentioned, because we had a lot of 1-point games and less than that or higher than that in this season. He was the only reason why we were staying in those games. It's just some inconsistent shooting showed up and inconsistent rebounding showed up and foul trouble showed up. And it didn't help that Tanner Christensen fouled out of, I think it was 5 games, including the last game. I mean, it doesn't help when your center gets fouled out that fast. It doesn't help when Frank Stain gets fouled out of 3 games either. It doesn't help when Isaiah Polk gets fouled out of a game. When your other players can't help the one-star player, Cam can only do so much. But hell, like I said, he was the only reason why we won that SUU game. Those 2 buzzer-beater 3-pointers, I mean, dude, to both
We legitimately won a game down 7 points with 30 seconds left last year to UVU, who's now probably going to win the WAC championship tonight in our own building. And Cam Gooden had the game-winning plays down the stretch.
Right. My only point on SUU is that they led the entire game. It was 2-0 to start. They never trailed. That was Cam Gooding. That was the reason why it Cam Gooding. They never trailed a game against SUU in the Burns Arena. 40 minutes, they owned the entire percentage of ownership of the time. 100%.
You know who we're forgetting who had a really good season for Utah, or I'm sorry, Dixie back in the day? You guys remember Matt Conway for that
Yes.
one season?
Yes.
2018, 2019. He averaged 17 a game for us
He was
on
badass.
54% shooting. That is insane. 47% from three.
That was with Hunter, and that was with Jack Top as well. Those three
Yeah.
were together at the same damn time.
Hunter was not on this team. It was
Hunter was
Austin.
not.
It was Austin, but it was Julian Decree. Remember the big man?
Yeah, Decree.
Yeah, Julian Decree. He was the other guy that they had back then. But no, Matt Conway. I remember him.
Anywho, it was fun. It was a fun season, and next year's is going to be even more fun. And I mean, hell, I believe in John Jenkins. I think he'll get 15, 16 wins next year. I think they just need a little. I think they just need a little more time.
Absolutely huge fan of the Trailblazers. All three of us are. Wishing the program the best. We want to see them do good in every single sport. And yeah, love some basketball. So it is time for our second and final segment here on the Coin Flip podcast. Jacob Zimmerman, Martin Kelly, Jaimes, Geren. Jaimes, I'm going to kind of let you be the moderator for this segment. And basically, me and Martin are going to go back and forth here. I am a huge Carolina Panthers fan. I was born in Raleigh, North Carolina. Grew up in Raleigh, that whole place. Lived there for 15 years. Went to several Panthers games. Martin is from Chicago. Huge Bears fan. Similar kind of story with me. And so we both are fans of terrible franchises, unfortunately. All three of us at the moment. So we were trying to get back into the win column, hopefully to championship contention. Martin, both of our teams just made moves with each other, thinking that maybe one day that can help us do what we need to do to get in that situation. Jaimes, kind of have at it, and I want you to, you can kind of start this off, break this down. How do you want to go about this?
All right, so we had a huge mix-up. All the mock drafts have been coming out. Who the Bears going to take, yada, yada, yada. And all of a sudden, boom, what Martin predicted a month or so ago came to reality. And that is getting 4 draft picks and a player for that precious, precious number 1 overall pick. And the Carolina Panthers
Martin, you pretty much
ended up being the buyer. Martin did call it. He said, I want a player and 4 picks. Now, he was saying that for my team to move up 3 spots. To move up 8 spots, it's a little bit more reasonable. So, 4 players and not just a player. 4 picks and not just a player, but DJ Moore.
Yeah.
The Panthers' number 1 option for the last few years, who's had 1,000-yard seasons with below-average quarterbacks. So he's no bum.
Quarterbacks.
With below-average quarterbacks. So did the Bears win this trade, or did the Panthers give up too much?
I would say a mix of both. And the reason why I say it's a mix of both is it depends on the perspective you're looking from. With all 3 of us
being within the Martin?
Huh?
That's it?
Wait a minute.
I was expecting some fire.
Wait a minute here. Okay, I'm getting to my point. All right,
I'm
being
neutral. Every fire starts off with a flint.
My point on this is there's 3 perspectives to look at it here, and the perspective is from a Colts, from a Bears, and from a Panthers perspective. Okay, from a Bears perspective, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to us in forever. This is probably the best thing that's ever happened to us since the Super Bowl. Okay, I mean that's just how high it ranks up on that list, and that's how terrible that list is right there. Okay, that's how amazingly depressing that list is. Okay, so with the Bears' perspective is Did we get too much? Did we fleece Carolina? Not really. The picks that the Los Angeles Rams gave up to get the first round pick, the picks that the Washington Commanders gave up to get Robert Griffin III, the picks that the Philadelphia Eagles gave up to get Carson Wentz are about in the same ballpark minus the player. So the average amount of 2 firsts and a couple seconds for a first round pick is about what the market said. The point on the overreaction on the whole entire trade is DJ Moore, and that's a blessing in it right itself. Yes, 1,000-yard receiver who can go get more than that, double-digit touchdowns, triple-digit catches. I mean, he's just going to be off the charts amazing, and it's going to be exciting to see that happen. So the Bears, in this sense, yes, did win the trade only because it's one of the potential that we got. The potential has not been completed yet. You've got to go on the football field and do it. Now, we'll get to Justin Fields here in a minute. To the coach perspective, for James, this is something that's going to be a big of a iffy coin toss because Carolina is taking a quarterback. There's no way they move up that high without not taking a quarterback. The possibility of them taking Anthony Richardson is up there. Whether they take him, I don't know. He is a Southern boy. Carolina fits. He has played in the SEC. It'd be something that people would recognize. Do they want to go after Bryce Young, the better quarterback of the SEC? Maybe. Do they want to go get CJ Stroud after the performance he put up against Georgia? Possibility. All three of these guys can throw the football. All three of these guys could be a franchise quarterback. There is Will Levi in the conversation, but I think he's a better, shorter, stouter, a possibility of like a Drew Brees. He's just
Martin,
not.
we know the perspectives. James asked, did the Bears win the trade? Yes or no?
Yes.
Why?
Because the fact is we bedoozled you, the Panthers, and we put the Colts in a situation where they're not going to get their quarterback.
You started off saying that we didn't give up too many picks, and now you're saying that we did give up too many picks. Or are you saying it's because we gave up DJ Moore?
Yes, the part of DJ Moore, yes, we fleeced the hell out of you. But
Martin,
the picks, that's exactly what they should have paid.
I'm gonna take it from here. Martin.
Whatever.
So DJ Moore, in my opinion, if he had a top 10 quarterback in this league, I think he would easily become a perennial top 10 wide receiver. I think he's that good. I think the numbers he's been able to put up with atrocities at quarterback has been really something that's just been swept under the rug. So I'll say giving up DJ Moore, giving up a guy who played his heart out for us. Thank you so much, DJ. Sucks to see him go. Wish he could be with CJ Stroud, but I guess we had to give him up. Martin, I initially thought 4 picks was going to be too much, that we weren't going to have to do that. What I ended up texting to a friend, what I'll tell you guys in the audience, is that I was upset that the Panthers won too many games last year. I told you guys through the podcast we did, I wanted the Panthers to tank. And this is another fold to the reasons why. We would not have to give up 2 firsts and 2 seconds if we had won 1 less game or 2 less games. We would not have to do that. We would have another second in our hands still today, if that was the case. But now let's get to the actual trade. Martin, the reason I'm not happy with the Carolina Panthers football over the last 6 years or so is that I'm a fan of the NBA, I'm a fan of the NFL. I know the worst place to be is mediocrity or subpar, and that's exactly where we have been. We've not been bad enough to get a good quarterback. We've not been good enough to draft a good quarterback somewhere else outside of the top 5. The last time we were good was when we got Cam Newton number 1 overall. So I'm happy that we finally made a move that's somewhat interesting to a franchise that doesn't seem to do anything. Martin, a take I was hearing all over the place that I was getting texted about from friends, I was hearing all over social media. Oh my gosh, the Panthers better make this work. They better make this work. You give up that much and it doesn't work out at quarterback? What a terrible trade. Can I remind you guys what the Panthers' record has been over the last couple of years? 2019, 5 wins. 2020, 5 wins. 2021, 5 wins. Last year, 7-10. Martin, say we do take a Bryce Young and it completely flops and we waste all those picks. We're just the same exact franchise we've always been. We're finally rolling the dice. We're finally doing something. And we're going to take a guy named C.J. Stroud, who I hope we get. Georgia is becoming the modern day Miami, the modern day Alabama, where several guys from their defense get selected in the first round every year. You want to know what his stat line was against them in the playoffs that they would have won with a decent kicker? 4 touchdowns, 23 of 37, 348 yards, 0 picks. This guy is the best guy in the draft. We got to take him. Martin, now let's get to a different angle of this. Martin, you guys have Justin Fields. Now, I'm a fan of Justin Fields from a watching perspective. I think that this guy, what he was able to do on the ground was absurd last year. I had a lot of fun watching it. But, as a guy who's been a Panthers fan, who's watched Cam Newton, we're seeing this happen with the Ravens right now. It kind of seems like running quarterbacks have somewhat of a limit if there's not a great team around them. And the Bears have maybe the worst supporting cast in the league before the trade around him. Martin, I think his running stats are what they are. He's great. His actual touchdown to interception ratio, I'll give him credit. He was 17 to 11 last year. That's not bad. But Martin, it's clear as day that this guy cannot be a quarterback in a threat of an offense where they pass the ball. He averages 152 yards a game passing for his career. You can give him DJ Moore, you can give him Darnell Mooney, you can give him Chase Claypool. With that offensive line, still the Bears are the Bears. I don't think Justin Fields can be the guy. And I come away from this trade thinking, you guys probably could have gotten a good return. You guys could have traded for Aaron Rodgers. You guys could have traded for Lamar Jackson. You guys could have traded for the quarterback. You guys could have maybe done something else. Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields' value is maybe the highest it's ever going to be in his career right now. You guys got all these wide receivers around him, but at the end of the day, I mean, are you guys going to win a playoff game in the next couple of years? I don't know.
You know, what makes NBA fans like you make me laugh so hard is that you guys don't even think like the way football fans do. You guys are just pure watching highlights.
I'm a football fan too, man. I've been playing
football. No. I let you spill your little spiel there about my quarterback. I'm attacking back. I'm going on the offense here, all right? All right? Sit back and listen, all right? My point is this, all right? The Carolina Panthers, all right, give 4 picks and DJ Moore. That is going to help Justin Fields in many ways. All right. Did you not see the receivers I had last year? You just said it yourself. I had the worst cast on the field. Okay. He didn't have anybody to throw the football to. You can't have somebody throw the football to nobody. Okay. That's not how the game works. All right.
But you need a good passing quarterback.
No. Okay. They got Cole Kmet, who's a good, decent tight end. He can catch the football. He's a good guy that can get 7 to 9 touchdowns. All right. Darnell Mooney is the middle of the man. He is going to be getting 7, 8 touchdowns and going after 1,000 yards. DJ Moore will be on the outside. He's going to be gunning for 1,100 yards and double-digit touchdowns. All right. Justin Fields was one of the best deep ball passers and accuracy passers in college football. What did everybody say? We had all that talent at Ohio State, so how can you really determine whether he's actually a good football player? So then he goes to the Chicago Bears and has the worst cast that is on the football field, and everybody says he can't throw the football. He was one of the best passers in college football. Okay, he's running for his damn life. He got sacked 55 times. Okay, you can't make a career out of that. Okay, you just talked about Cam Newton. He got the beaten living crap out of him. All right, if he would have stayed in the pocket, he would have been fine. Maybe. All right. My point on all of it is,
but he's not staying in the pocket.
He's not staying in the pocket because he has no damn choice. He has to run. He has no other choice. Do you not watch him play football? He is looking down the damn field, looking for somebody. They triple
Martin, they're
teamed Darnell
calling,
Mooney,
they're calling
and they left
quarterback.
everybody else on
They're
a
calling
one-on-one,
quarterback to
and no
start
one else can
plays
get the
for him.
football. Okay? You can't win football games when your best receiver is triple covered. It's not possible. Okay? Darnell Mooney is not Kelvin Johnson. I wish he was.
Who's Patrick Mahomes' best receiver this year when they win the Super Bowl? Juju?
He made Juju good. What are you talking about?
Exactly. The quarterbacks make the wide receivers good.
You can't do it without an offensive line. Don't forget about Kansas. They have the best offensive line. You can't win football games without an offensive line. Go at Jalen Hurts. Okay? Go ask him.
So are you guys gonna draft linemen then?
I don't have an offensive line football games. Okay? That's plain and simple. All right? And on top of that, my defense was terrible. Okay? The Panthers are the Panthers. You're not wrong about that. And the Bears are the Bears. That's nothing to say anything else about it either.
So
okay?
You're trying to
The
be a
Bears
team
are
that has
going to
a
be
running
good in about
quarterback
2
that
to 3
surrounds it
years.
with a bunch of talent.
Okay? They got to fix that
Talent is not
defense
there.
first, and then we'll see what happens in free agency. Okay? Because I still don't trust the McCaskies because I know how cheap and I know how stupid they are. All right? I've known that for years. Okay?
Martin,
Panthers in this situation, we'll see what they do.
Luck.
I don't know which quarterback they'll take. We don't know that off the top of our heads. We all say either C.J. Stroud. I think they'll take Anthony, or they'll take Bryce. I would take Bryce. He's the best quarterback in this draft. That's just my opinion. But
Martin, you got to think about this though.
the Bears are the Bears, and Justin Fields will be a damn good quarterback. Okay, everybody's wrong about him. You just wait and see.
The Bears have never had a good quarterback. Martin, you tell me the Bears haven't had a good quarterback ever. Sometimes you defend what's his bucket? Sid Luckman?
God, you kidding?
Martin, you defend this guy Sid Luckman? You haven't had a good quarterback since Sid Luckman? Since the 50s?
Hello?
Martin, he wasn't even good. He threw 31 picks in a season. And that's going to do it for the Coin Flip Podcast. Jacob Zimmerman, Martin Kelly, James Geren, signing off.